Hello, welcome to PODnas. This is a sports show with a Southern flair. I'm Daniel Hawks. That's Jarrett Roser, mother.
You practiced.
I know. Today we are going to go over college football week 4. We've got a Saints preview, and also we're going to do our high school play of the week winner for this week. Jarrett, besides my point, how are you doing? And yes, guys, I did practice before. I went like this, like 3 times, and I can do it now, but
I thought when I started I was going to be pointing the wrong direction and just inherently was pointing the right direction.
yeah, well, you're better at this than I am, so whatever.
Yeah. Good weekend. I'm about to spend a lot of by the time this hits the channel, I'll already be spending a lot of time in Lafayette with a lot of Lafayette area high school football, and then this Tulane versus Cajuns matchup on Saturday morning that we'll get to when we start talking about the pick'em and whatnot. But I'm excited for some 3-3-7 time and some great football.
Let's talk about it. Let's go right into it then. LSU starts our preview off. LSU is going to be playing UCLA at home, 2:30 game on ABC. Let's go into your thoughts about it, Jarrett. I mean, are we going to lose to another California team? Is that what's going to happen? Or
No, I think the bigger question is the last I saw the spread was like 24.5 in favor of LSU. And so can LSU cover that? It feels like a lot for this LSU team right now against a Power 4 opponent, fresh off of some struggles up at South Carolina. The Nicholls State game was close for 2.5 quarters there and all of those things. But, I mean, the struggles that UCLA has had to this point, and the fact that I do think that LSU coming back home is going to put up points, I mean, not at will, but fairly readily. I'm not going to be surprised if they do ultimately push that margin out and cover it, but it feels weird to say for a Power 4 game, but this week feels like we're talking about it, or should be talking about it, similar to an FCS tune-up game type situation where, look, they pose some challenges, but this week's more about LSU cleaning up some of its own issues and preparing for this Ole Miss game that's in a few weeks. And so I like LSU at home for sure, and just hope we see them execute at a higher level and kind of contain some of these big bust plays and things like that.
Yeah. I know I would love to see from the LSU team, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this, but both fronts, our offensive front and our defensive front, kind of just take control of the game, especially our offensive front. I would love to see us pass block and run block the hell out of the ball, or the hell out of the game. Like, you can't run block a ball. I don't think you can, but whatever. I would love to see LSU know that they're the best, that is their strength going into it, and then use that to their advantage throughout the whole game. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. I do kind of see it as you as a little bit more of like that FCS opponent, but also let's not get cute with it. So,
yeah.
Which, and
watching them kind of find the balance of, I know there was a lot of frustration early in the season of not establishing the run, and Brian Kelly talked about the fact that there were a lot of plays where they went to the line of scrimmage and it was, the first look was a run play, but then seeing the box stuffed against their offense, they realized, okay, we need to check out of this and take what's there. I think finding the balance of, you take what the defense gives you, but also you need to force the issue at times as a team that should be the favorite in most of the games this season. That's going to be interesting over these next couple of weeks before, again, and we'll talk about it some more next week in South Alabama. We're looking at LSU just trying to get right as LSU, because it gets really daunting in a hurry, but just trying to iron out some of those kinks right now.
Absolutely. So let's go with our first pick 'em. I'm going with LSU. Jared, are you going to go against the grain? You picking the Bruins? You're usually the bad guy versus all the home teams, so I just assumed you would.
Am I usually?
You've been pretty. I mean, it's been
the right guy.
Bad guy, right guy. Sometimes they're the same thing, man. Okay, I'm for the people. All right, I'm out here for the people.
I haven't looked at what our demographic breakdown is in terms of the viewership and men versus women or whatever, but just, you can put right here, Jarrett Roser, Mr. Right for the pick. Mr. Right. Let the folks know.
Okay. All right. I will. I totally am going to do that. I totally.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though I think I'm on the left side of the screen.
No, I'm gonna put it exactly where you put your finger, right there, right there. That's where it's going. That's the beauty of post. All right.
How how much of it? All right, I'm sorry, but this is just funny to me, and it's
Oh,
something
you
that
have
lives
to.
rent free in my head as a tangent. We had a like civics teacher, maybe, I don't know. We had some sort of social studies teacher
You had a Honda
1 year.
Civic teacher. All right.
One year in high school. She was new to the school, taught us all about Honda Civics. But no, and we also had a calculus teacher, long tenured, awesome AP calculus teacher named Mr. Wright, Wright, and the teacher, the civics teacher, social studies teacher, whatever, made a comment one day that reminded us of a quote that was very well attributed to Mr. Wright. And so we stopped and asked, "Hey, like, wait, do you know Mr. Wright? Have you met Mr. Wright?" And she said, "No, but I've met a lot of Mr. Wrongs." And then it took us a second to realize, but wait, you're very married. What are we talking about here, man? What's going? I don't understand what's happening in this class anymore, and where that quip came from. Is everything okay at home?
There are three branches of government.
Anyway, sorry. That just go. That story 20 years ago
Listen,
now, I don't know,
we
lives in my head forever.
anyone that has continued to watch this knows that we are the nonsense pod on the Louisiana versus all y'all feed. So as long as we can keep that rep up, and I think we filled the cup. So per se, let's move on. Tulane is playing at the UL Cajuns. Going to be in Lafayette, like you said. It's an 11 a.m. game. We love those. Uh, it's going to be on ESPNU if you're looking to watch it. Jared, give us the breakdown, and then we'll do our little picks.
It's a really interesting game, man. Both of those teams, I visited with both of them this week, and just talking about how interesting of a measuring stick this feels like for them against one another. Tulane is obviously a team that came into the season high expectations. We talked about them during our college football playoff prediction show, and they're now back-to-back losses against Power Four teams, and just trying to kind of see where they are, how they shake back, what they learned and grew through those losses to now get back to another G4 opponent, and just kind of where they are right now. Similarly, the
Do
Cajuns.
you have a vibe? Do you have a what was your vibe from the Tulane team? Do you think that they
Yeah,
are in that mindset of like, hey, we went through a little bit of a gauntlet, but that doesn't mean we're any less of a team, or are they kind of like beaten down by it? What was your
no, they mentality wise, both of them really seem like they're in great places. Tulane understood what they were up against with those two matchups, and they let the K-State one in particular get away from them. But they know that everything they want to accomplish is still in front of them, and that they've showed they can play with anyone in the country at this point. You're looking at two, whatever the hell they're ranked, top 15-ish teams that Tulane was right there toe for toe within a score late. And so I think they're in the right place mentally, but still it's always interesting how you then come back from those games and perform the next week after so much goes into the anticipation and hype and build up to those games. And so just kind of seeing where that group is and cleaning up some of the things on its end. Similarly, the Cajuns have been off to this great start, but this week's Tulane game is their biggest challenge to date. And so seeing how what they've accomplished and learned through the last few weeks and whatnot, how that stacks up now in a ramp up in competition. And man, I think it's going to be it's going to be hot, but it's going to be a fun
yeah?
Saturday morning midday.
And both these teams can put up points too, so I think it should be a real fun game to watch. I would hit that over if you're looking to bet. Overs right now is at 52.5. I think it could go over that, and I think that would be fun. Both teams in the 30s. I don't think that's too much to ask for both of these teams. So, or maybe Tulane kind of takes control. I could see that as well. So I'm going to pick Tulane. What's your vibe?
Yeah, hopefully this episode doesn't reach Lafayette too fast because I'll be out there Saturday morning. But I think Tulane goes out there and wins it. You know, there's a reason that we were talking about them in the college football playoff draft show, and there's a reason that they're challenging two of the top teams in the country the last couple of weeks. I think the Cajuns have the ability to challenge the Green Wave more than maybe a lot of fans outside of Lafayette are giving credence to. And there have been some close games between these two teams when they have crossed paths through the years. Close matchups in recent years with John Summerall's Troy teams against these Cajuns in Sunbelt action. But I think right now I know more to this point in the season about who Tulane is and what they know about who they are internally than necessarily I know for sure about the Cajuns. And so I'm going to take Tulane to go on the road and get a win.
All right. All right. Next up, we have number 11 USC is going to be at number 18 Michigan, 2:30 game on CBS. So if you're watching it, it won't be done until tomorrow at 1 a.m. because there's a commercial break after every single play. But shouts to CBS Sports. This is a very interesting game. USC kind of riding high. Michigan definitely still trying to find their identity after losing so much from last season. I think Michigan is going to give them a better game than what is kind of expected of them. But I'm going to stick with USC. I think USC pulls it out.
You gave me the Mr. Road or whatever thing before, trying to bait me into taking UCLA, which I wouldn't, but I will take USC to go up to Michigan and come away with a win. I think this week is a big one, and there are going to be a lot of weeks this season where that LSU-USC game just looks like that much quote-unquote better of a loss as USC impresses more and more throughout the season. I don't know if they're in the playoffs at the end of it all, but I think they're going to win a lot of games this season against that Big Ten schedule.
Yeah, and especially I listen, Michigan has a great defense, and Michigan is a powerhouse school, and the Big House is such a tough place to play. It would not surprise me if they come out with a victory here. I really look at this team as kind of like that year after the Joe Burrow, Jamar, the year after the championship year, where the LSU team necessarily did not really have a cohesive, did not feel cohesive as a team. It did not feel like that they even knew like who they were supposed to be. And some of that is still like kind of reverberated in this, year's team, and still trying to find our footing on defense since then. What
was that SAT word used? You said
I didn't use anything. Don't even worry about it.
Reverberated.
Reverberations.
I agree with you on some of the identity stuff, and also on the Michigan defense being really salty. But I keep coming back to and just kind of circling it around to local relevance. The amount of times in that LSU-USC game where LSU actually did play really good defense, and Miller Moss and those receivers were still just able to hit tight windows and make incredible catches. I think we're going to see a lot of that.
There were like 3 catches of the year in that game, and 2 of them were from the USC wide receiver. So I'm going to go ahead. Like we both said, we're picking USC there so we can move on. All right. Next up, we've got number 12 Utah at number 14 Oklahoma State, 3 p.m. game on Fox. This one,
I forgot to think about these before we started recording. I don't know, man.
Yeah. I'm going with Utah. I think that quarterback, it's Rising. I forget his first name, but his last name's Rising. Cam Rising. Yeah. I think he's a great player. I love watching him play. Got to watch a little bit of last week's game versus Utah State, and just really, I like the kid swagger. And when all else fails, I'm gonna pick on swag.
I'm super torn in this. Some of those old I just have memories of getting back from LSU games and watching Big 12 absolute chaos of shootouts late night, and games in Stillwater that went a little bit crazy. And it's, it can be tough to go out there and come out on top of some of those things. There's a reason Oklahoma State, as I pull it up now, is favored at home. I'm going to agree with you, though, and I'm going to go Utah. That's a team that I had a lot of confidence in going into the season. I think I picked them in the playoff prediction draft show, And so I'll take the Utes. Shout out Marissa Tomei and Pesci. Utes go into Stillwater and come away with one.
Love it. Love it. All right. Next up, we have number 6, Tennessee at number 15, Oklahoma. Oklahoma's welcome to the SEC. 6:30 game, ABC. Tennessee looks like a buzzsaw, man. They had 37 points before the end of the first quarter last week. And I know it wasn't like a big opponent, but if you're putting up a game's worth of points in one 15-minute span, like, and they've done it for everyone. I believe that like they haven't had a touchdown scored against them, like, and I think it's like a full 2 games like now, or they've only had like one scored all season. This Tennessee team is real. And I think they need to be looked at as maybe the team that could come out and be in Atlanta for the SEC championship game. I think they're that good. I think they're that dynamic.
Yeah, looking at them now, 1 touchdown scored this season. They beat Chattanooga 69-3. NC State at the time ranked NC State 51-10, and then rolled past Kent State 71-0 last week. And everything you said, I went into the season. I took Tennessee with my last pick in the playoff prediction because I thought they had a chance. To date, they have looked every bit of the high end of what I had hoped to see from them this season. And so going to an Oklahoma team that has been banged up, struggled a bit at times with Tulane during the stretch of that game in terms of just piecing it together, a consistent 4 quarters. I think Tennessee goes out there to Norman and gets a win on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, we're agreeing too much today, right?
I know.
This is poor for us, and we're not going to disagree on the next one either.
The fact that we're agreeing so much makes me feel like I'm going to lose more games this week than usual.
Oh, you shut up, man. Next up, ULM at number 1 Texas, 7 p.m. It's going to be on ESPN Plus if you would like to watch it. I'm sure in the Moreau area it'll be on local TV, but I don't live in the Moreau area, so I can't tell you. I could Google it, but that's I'm going to have to edit that out. It'll be a stop thing. So we'll just get into the breakdown of it. I don't think we're going to diverge from picking favorites here.
So look, this had to be on the list for other talking points because obviously Arch, right, in his situation with an opportunity there for the Texas quarterback position. And I wanted to bring to your attention and catch your live reaction to ULM's defensive coordinator, Ernest Hill, I think yesterday, talking to the media, asked about Arch Manning, said, we actually have some kids on our team who played against him in New Orleans, and a couple guys done beat him already, so they don't hold too much fear against him. So think about that, just the way that he approached it. Give me your initial reactions to that approach in terms of commentary. Like it, hate it, just that comment.
I hate giving any competitor billboard material or locker room material. I hate it. I absolutely hate it, especially when you're in this scenario. And like, I'm not saying go out there and say like, well, we're just going to lose, but like, there's a different way to say it than like, oh yeah, they already beat him